and welcome to a brand new video. Today we have one of those mysterious cases you request so much about music stars, conspiracy, and things. So here we are with Amy Winehouse case, which has been very requested since the 27 Club video, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in this video. But before we begin, don't forget to follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts, and the most important thing is to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. And now, without anything else to say, let's begin. The mysterious case of Amy Winehouse. Amy Jade Winehouse was born on September 14, 1983 in London, England. Her family was Jewish and had a very strong artistic inclination towards jazz rhythms. On one hand, her father was Michael, who was a cab driver, and on the other hand was her mother, Janice, who was a pharmacist. Despite each of their jobs, they really liked music, and Amy started growing up where jazz was really appreciated as a music genre. But at the same time she was growing up, Amy became quite a rebellious child. She was a very restless girl, so that was hard for her parents at the beginning. That was when Amy's grandmother appeared, a woman named Cynthia, who became supremely important in her life. She helped her during those rebellious times. And what she also did was prepare her regarding certain musical things. It is even said that a very famous trumpeter called Ronnie Scott was in love with Amy's grandmother, and sometimes he taught her something about the instruments. Her parents got divorced in 1993, but not in a traumatic way. They ended up in good terms, and following the grandmother's recommendation for there not to be a trauma and her not to keep going with their rebellious attitudes, they signed her to a theater school of Susie Ellis. Amy was really good at dancing, body expression, acting, but since she was a child, already had a very set dream in her head to become a singer. People say that when she was 10, she founded a rap duo called Sweet and Sour, which was a duo of two girls, but it's something that Amy didn't really like mentioning because she was a little embarrassed about that part of her life. She kept signing up to different theater schools, and she signed up in Sylvia's Youngs. She was there for a while, but she was expelled because of her rebellious attitude, and specifically because she pierced her nose, and that wasn't allowed. She kept being quite rebellious, but let's say that her way of balancing that was her incredibly big love for music. She trained her voice very hard, and she really became a very good singer at a young age. She also kind of practiced big time by being a vocalist on the National Jazz Orchestra of her city. That's how at 13 she got a guitar, continued with music, and later on when she was 16 met her first boyfriend, called Tyler James. And also an important part when talking about her artistic career. This man knew different people from the music industry, among those a manager called Nick Gatfield, and he set a date to meet them. When this man listened to her, he said like, "Whoa, this woman is amazing, she deserves to be famous. And she has an enormous potential to do many things." After that meeting, she moved to Miami with her new manager. And there she met a very good musical producer who did the kind of music she liked, within the R&B and blues genres, and whose name was Salam Remy. He had worked with big stars. He listened to her, and obviously he signed her for the Island label and then started recording her first album. They said she was a really good girl, so much so that they didn't have to double takes of anything. The recording process was very effective with her, and they liked that a lot. That's how she launched her first album called Frank, precisely in honor of Frank Sinatra, this great musician from history. She started having a lot of success among people. It was launched in 2003, and it became a platinum disc, and it was also nominated for the Mercury Awards. However, in 2004, given that sudden success, she started having money, she bought a property in a questionable neighborhood, and she began being close to people who were not good for her. She started having an almost unlimited access to everything that had to do with drugs and alcohol, and bit by bit she began becoming addicted to all those things. Let's say that she also started some kind of romance with another man called Blake, who was a part of her team. At the same time, she was with her boyfriend Tyler, so this also started to be trouble for her. And she began suffering from many other things like anorexia and bulimia, which started to affect her career somehow. Her manager obviously started worrying and talked with Amy's parents, who reprimanded her. And she, instead of taking it in a good way, took it really badly, and she was aggressive and upset. During this whole process, she created her new album called Back to Black, where all the songs were absolutely and completely written by her. It became a triple platinum disc, and it was something very good for Amy. And let's say that its success came from it being a little darker, and people feel it's like the tale of what she started to live with the drugs, the alcohol, the bulimia, her eating disorders, and the relationships that surrounded her, like that affair she started having with another man. Besides, she really didn't want any help. So that was a good year for the album sales. However, not everything could be that good. That year, Amy's grandmother died, and as I've told you, she was a very important woman for her. They had a very close relationship since she was a child, and she practically raised her, so that was really hard for her. Besides that, she had broken up with her boyfriend to start an official romance with Blake. But then it seemed as if fame came too fast for Amy. She started being hunted by paparazzi constantly, so that began affecting her in the way she acted, for they chased her around and found her in not very good scenes. She cancelled a lot of shows, sometimes she didn't even show up, and that obviously started being a problem for her career. Despite that, she was nominated for the Grammys and won 5 of them. She was truly becoming a very renowned person, but they say she started suffering from pulmonary illnesses among other things. But that was later debunked by her father. It's not really known if she had anything and if that really affected her career. 2009 came and she divorced Blake, with whom she had already married. Things didn't end up very nicely. She started getting into one scandal after the other, showing up to her concerts completely drugged and drunk. There were shows in which she even threw up because of how bad she felt, and then came the fatidic day of her death.
Bringing some breaking news now, coming into us from Sky Sources. The singer Amy Winehouse has been found dead in her North London flat, just 27 years old.
We're going to turn now to a major loss in the music world tonight. The gifted singer Amy Winehouse found dead in her London home. She was just 27.
It was July 23rd of 2011. They say Andrew Morris was Amy's Winehouse bodyguard, and he was the only one who was with her in that moment. Apparently, she hadn't slept the night before, for she had been drinking, smoking, and doing drugs. And that morning, as she didn't sleep at night, she told her bodyguard at around 10, like, "I'm going to sleep because I'm very tired," and then she went to bed. However, it was 3 p.m. and her bodyguard went to her room. He tried to wake her up, but then he realized that Amy hadn't changed her position through the night. He tried to wake her up, but that never happened. They called the ambulance, and as soon as they got there, they declared Amy Winehouse dead at the age of 27 years. Let's say that they started investigating the case, but they couldn't get answers immediately. They had to wait for the autopsy, especially because there wasn't anything to make them think that was a crime scene or something similar. So here's when we start talking about the theories that surround Amy Winehouse death. Let's say that at first it was thought that Amy had died because of the drugs, for obviously she had plenty of problems with that. She was an addict, and many people say like drugs kill her or an overdose. However, the parents said they haven't found a single trace of that in Amy's systems when she died, and that they wanted an official response about her death. A long time passed before the autopsy was done, and indeed, there wasn't a single trace of drugs in her system. And that's where the official theory that was published on October 25, 2011 came from, revealing the artist's autopsy results. According to what it is said, it was the alcohol. The great amount she had drunk that night what led her to lose her life. She probably suffered a cardiorespiratory arrest while she was sleeping, and that ended her life. Besides, they found 3 empty vodka bottles in her room, so those were linked to the cause of her death. They say they found 416 milligrams of alcohol in her blood, and it's illegal for a person to have more than 80 milligrams, so 416 was a lot. Besides, it's considered that just 350 milligrams can cause death, so having 416 was another whole level of alcohol. They didn't find any vital organ affected, but they obviously say it was the great amount of the alcohol she consumed what killed her. It affected her respiratory system and she ended up falling into a coma and dying. However, it seems that there are things that don't match. As in all cases, there are people that say that it's impossible for her to die because of the alcohol because she drank a lot, but maybe it was her limit and she died. There are people who say that is not really what happened. So we move on to the next theory, which could be a suicide. There are people who think that all those disorders she had, added to the fact she had recently divorced and was now starting a new romance, was what led her to end her life. Besides all those eating disorders and the use of drugs and alcohol from which she hadn't been able to rehabilitate, she was feeling very bad, so she decided to end her life. There's something very curious, and it is that Amy always said she was going to die young. It's like she knew that. So that raised suspicions, whether it because there were people manipulating her or because she simply knew that. The other theory talks about her eating disorders. They say that's what killed her, and it makes sense because she suffered from very advanced anorexia and bulimia. She looked really ragged, so people say that what really killed her were the eating disorders she had been dealing with for such a long time. On the other hand, there was the theory of her lungs. There are people who say that she suffered from a pulmonary infection some months before dying and after some awards around July. And she started suffering from a deficiency given how much she smoked, so to speak, and also because of her drug, cocaine, and crack abuse. But there are people who say that when Amy was diagnosed with that illness in her lungs, she got really scared and stopped consuming drugs for she was afraid of dying. When she died, they didn't find anything in her body, and there are people who say she was going through a drug cleansing process since several months back. That is according to the theories that have something to do with her health, which for me make a lot of sense because she was a girl of excesses and she really led a turbulent life regarding that. But we're also starting here with the theories that have to do with things external to her, which say that's not responsible of her own death. There's a first theory that talks about a satanic ritual made by people close to her, by the industry, and by the so-called Illuminati. It was like a sacrifice and they forced her to commit suicide so they, or people close to them, wouldn't have blood in their own hands. There are people who say that Amy was still alive when the ambulance picked her, that she wasn't dead when the paramedics arrived, but that she was still alive. And according to what some neighbors said, they heard some noises in Amy's house before she appeared dead, like scream as though someone was chasing another person, but this theory was never confirmed or proved. So here's when we mentioned the 27 Club, which I told you at the beginning I was going to mention, and it's a theory. I already did a video about it. In case you want to watch it, I'll leave the link in the description. But it talks about why she died precisely at that age and in such a sudden way. There are people who think she was a woman with the perfect lifestyle to belong to the 27 Club. She was becoming an icon, her voice was incredible, she had a unique style, people liked her and what she created, but she was very controversial and problematic. Regarding everything I told you about, so obviously this was the evidence to be able to end her life before she stopped being an icon, so they could still sell her music after her death, so people would believe she committed suicide. So here's when many people show proof about her being a part of the 27 Club and a plan of the Illuminati or the people from her label to murder her. There's a piece of art which is a sculpture done in 2004 which is called "The Only Good Rock Star is a Dead Rock Star." I'm not going to show you the photo here because this video would get taken down, but you can search that picture on the internet. It's basically a sculpture that represents Amy Winehouse as if someone has shot her in her head. She's lying down on the floor and there's blood around. And next to it there's a Minnie Mouse figure, which is very creepy because it has kind of a diabolic mask. So because of this sculpture, there are many people who see Amy as well as other artists as people who are completely controlled by the society and the Illuminati. It is said that they stopped these artists from reaching the 30-year mark so they could never get their own freedom, both economically and mentally, and to also take advantage of them being stars and trending so they could sell them better inside the industry once they're dead. Either way, there's another theory, and it is that as she was mentally controlled by those Illuminati, same as everybody inside the club, they died very early, precisely at that age, because of different factors. Among those, all of that torture, that torment, that control they're under, which led them to some kind of madness that made them kill themselves, or they just control them so much that they commit suicide. This is full of serious depressions and problems as the ones Amy had, such as bulimia and anorexia, of addiction to drugs and alcohol, and those became the main reasons why people think she died. And it is also thought that there are some people inside these mind control programs that are able to break free from them, to realize what really happened and to try to get out. And that's when they also kill them, as in Amy case or in others artist cases. It's said it happened with Brittany Murphy, that she knew that she was trying to talk about it and they kill her. There's something that also links all this to Amy, which are the relationships she had with the managers and people from the industry. It is said they were in charge of manipulating her, of getting her deeper into these mind control programs. And when those relationships ended, that affected her greatly because they had become her whole world and what she was living day after day. So regarding this theory, in the end, people say Amy was murdered mentally through her own mind, controlling her and also pushing her to do all of this. And there is the thing about the neighbors hearing noises and how it is that the bodyguard wasn't there earlier, among other suspicious things. From my perspective, I feel that Amy's case is a little different. I feel that she did have some problems with very, very high excesses, so for me it may have been an accidental death, and well, obviously that was or could be her fault because of an overdose. She didn't have any control, and it was evident that unlike other artists who have died at the same age, she did have certain problems with these topics where she showed up to her concerts completely drunk and high, which were things the others that have been found dead didn't do. So I think it could be accidental, but one never knows. Maybe there were also dark things behind her death because she was a person with a very specific style, a very specific voice, and she also became an icon within the genres in which she played in, so maybe they killed her before her fame died. But anyway, I don't know what you think about Amy Winehouse's death. Leave me your theories or comments here. And as for now, if you like this video a lot, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and leave suggestions of what other videos you would like me to film next. Remember to follow me on all my social media. You know I have a billion social media accounts. And to subscribe to this channel and activate the notification bell so it lets you know when I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching me, and don't forget to follow your dreams. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye!